Hello everyone, I'm Dan, and Fusion 0.2 has just been officially released. Today, we're going to take a look at the new features, changes, and fixes that you should keep an eye out for. In this update, the state and compat objects have been renamed to reduce confusion and to make their functions clearer at first glance. Specifically, state has been renamed to value because it holds a single user-defined value, and compat has been renamed to observer because it watches for when an object changes value. Other than these name changes, they should work identically to before. Just make sure to update your old v0.1 code to work with these newly renamed objects, and you should be fine. In this update, we've removed the computed pairs state object and have replaced it with a collection of more specific objects which should allow you to write more expressive code. They're called 4keys, 4values, and 4pairs. The first object allows you to read and modify the keys of a table while ignoring the values. This can be useful when working with sets of objects or when renaming items stored in a table. Inversely, the second object allows you to read and modify the values of a table while ignoring the keys. This is most useful when working with arrays where you don't care about the position of individual items. Finally, the third object allows you to read and modify both the key and the value at the same time. You can use this when you need information about both the key and the value, or when you want to reorder items in an array. You can trivially update existing code using computed pairs to new code using 4pairs. Just remember to also return the key in the new code. For best performance though, consider using 4keys and 4values where possible, because these can be optimized more efficiently. In the previous version of Fusion, we only offered APIs for creating new instances. However, sometimes you'll need to change properties on existing instances instead, for example when updating global lighting settings. To help with this, we've introduced a new hydrate function to Fusion, which works almost identically to new. The only difference is that hydrate can be used on any instance you want, unlike new, which creates a new instance every time. Apart from that, you can use any instance APIs you wish, including event and change handlers, state objects, assigning children, and more. This is an experimental API, so we're probably going to tweak it going forward, but for now, this should allow you to achieve more with your Fusion code. However, we still recommend using new if it's possible and you're comfortable doing so. In addition to our existing onEvent, onChange, and children APIs, we're adding more APIs in this version which can be used in your property tables. Ref allows you to save the instance into a value object so that you can refer to the instance elsewhere. Out allows you to output the value of a property into a value object, which can be helpful when dealing with user input like reading typed text in a text box. And finally, cleanup allows you to run your own cleanup code when the instance is destroyed. You can also give it event connections to disconnect, other instances to destroy, anything with a destroy method, or even arrays of things to clean up. Now, instances are often made inside of state objects, which can make them awkward to destroy at times. To make the experience smoother, we're adding destructors to computed, 4keys, 4values, and 4pairs. These let you run code when a value is no longer needed, so it's the perfect place to destroy instances or disconnect events. What's more, for convenience, Fusion provides two ready-made destructor implementations: Cleanup, which destroys your generated values for you, and Do Nothing, which, you guessed it, leaves the generated values alone. As part of our efforts to provide easy-to-understand, world-class tutorials and documentation for Fusion, we've completely rebuilt the documentation website with support for light mode, ultra-wide screens, smoother scrolling, back-to-top shortcuts, and refined search. The tutorials have been completely rewritten from scratch to be more concise and easier to understand, including new diagrams and visual examples where appropriate. We're updating the examples with a new cookbook full of useful code snippets, and adding a new Wordle example project to showcase how Fusion works in a realistic setting. Finally, the API reference has received a massive overhaul to better utilize space, show more information about API versions, and to make navigation much easier. We've made a small tweak to how tables work in Fusion. Previously, if you've passed the same table into a value or computed object, it would not trigger a new update. To update a table, you had to either replace it entirely or force it to update using a hidden parameter of the set method. We've changed this behavior so that passing in a table will always cause an update, even if it's the same table as before. While this isn't perfectly efficient, it should make your code work the way that you expect it to much more often. To better support Fusion in professional environments, we've extended strict Lua typing throughout most of the Fusion codebase. As a result, we also now provide type information for 100% of the public API, meaning that you can now use Fusion in strictly typed codebases and get useful types and hints as you work. We've changed how the Spring and Tween objects accept their properties. Starting with Fusion 0.2, they'll now accept state objects for tween info, speed, and damping, so you can change how those objects animate at any time. This can be especially useful for implementing reduced motion settings, which we highly recommend for accessibility. Previously, Fusion could sometimes throw unexpected, unclear, or confusing error messages for common mistakes, such as giving the wrong type of value to an instance property. In this update, we're introducing errors more thoroughly to various parts of Fusion to help you more easily and independently diagnose issues. On the website, we've also added a handy paste box to the errors page so that you can paste in any error message and jump right to the explanation. We understand that our previous guidelines for using the Fusion name and logo were confusing and unnecessarily restrictive. To address this, we've added clarification and examples to our new guidelines, which have been rewritten to be more generally permissive. It's already been over a year since Fusion first launched, and I just want to personally thank you guys for adopting it so readily. As a young project, it has a long life in front of it, and a lot of avenues to explore further. Having a warm community around Fusion will certainly help make sure that we build the best UI library that we can, together. I've already been personally researching a whole host of experimental new features, including some total overhauls to dependency management, animation, and extensibility, and I can't wait to show you those things in action. For now though, they're destined for another update, sometime in the future. Just know that Fusion is nowhere near a finished project, and there's still so much more that we could enact and explore. For now, that's about everything that we have to show. You can check out Fusion at ltob.uk/Fusion, and while you're there, feel free to give our repository a star on GitHub if you appreciate the work that we're doing. It really helps. If you like the music that you've been listening to, you can find it over at ltob.bandcamp.com, and if you want to keep up to date, follow me over on Twitter at ltob_. I've been Dan, and I'll talk to you guys again very soon. Have fun!